Taylor Swift has purchased her masters and announced we're not getting RepTV, and I have thoughts. By the way, I'm KJ Miller. I'm a founder, lecturer, and content creator. I love talking about all things business, pop culture, beauty, Taylor Swift, a lot of things in between. If you like any of that, be sure to subscribe. Now, let's get into it. Okay, so before I say anything, let me say this. I have been thinking about this for days on end, many days, because she made the announcement. I'm filming this. It is the evening of Monday, June 2nd. She made this announcement. My recollection is Friday. Let me fact check. Okay, yes, confirmed. Friday. All right, so I've had 3 days to just be thinking about this, and I haven't said anything about it over on TikTok, which is where, I post my daily thoughts. If you like my thoughts here on YouTube, by the way, you should check out my TikTok because over there I post every day. And I did film a video. A full video, like a 4 or 5 minute video. I filmed a video on Friday with my thoughts and then immediately put it into drafts. And the reason I put it into drafts is because I just felt like I needed to sit on it. I felt like my thoughts weren't necessarily fully formed. And also they felt, I don't know, almost a little disrespectful. And let me explain what I mean by that. I feel like one of Taylor's big things, and I firmly agree with this, she has spoken about this, one of Taylor's big things is she hates when people feel excited about something and then other people swoop in to like shit all over it, right? To be like, ugh, don't be excited. Ugh, that's lame. Ugh, you're weird for being this excited about a thing or for being overly dramatic or whatever. Like Taylor stands up for the girls who just want to be dramatic and who want to be excited and who want to wear the friendship bracelets and who want to go all out. And like, she definitely doesn't vibe with the people who are like too cool for school, And I almost felt like I'm never someone who's trying to be too cool for school. I hope my vibe doesn't give that. I don't, I hope, but my take was not in keeping with all of the enthusiasm that I was seeing. I was seeing like just from the Swifterhood, the Taylor Swift fandom, nothing but really excitement and joy and like we did it in celebration. And my take was not giving that. And it's not that I'm like someone who wants to make sure I'm following the crowd. I'm not that girl either. But I did feel a little bit like, okay, if I put this take out right now, while everyone is celebrating, while everyone is excited, am I someone who's just dampening the mood in a way that like I don't want to be? And so I pressed pause, and I said, let me sleep on it. Let me think on it and kind of at least try to fully form my thoughts. That's what this video is now. Okay. I realized that was a lot of disclaimer, but I just wanted to give some context to like why I'm putting this out here now and sort of like how we got here. Okay, so with that very long disclaimer out of the way, let me now try and put some structure around this video. First, I'm going to get into what my original thoughts were. I do want to share them kind of for posterity, but also kind of because I think they lead into and build into where we're going, right? So I'll start by sharing my original thoughts. Then I am going to share what I've observed from like the fandom and kind of my takeaways from what I have observed. And then I'm going to end with my updated thoughts. And to be clear, I don't know exactly yet what's going to be in part 3. I don't know yet. I'm kind of using this video to help guide me to my final thoughts. Okay. So, but let's start with part 1, which is my original thoughts, and I hope they can be received in the spirit I'm giving them, which is wanting to be transparent about this journey I have been on after this announcement, because it has been a journey. Okay. It has been. Okay. So let's start there. When I saw the news, and I did go and I read her post, the handwritten note, all of it, and my immediate reaction was kind of twofold. Part 1 was, wow, I'm so happy for her. Like, she owns her life's work. Like, this is something that has been so important to her, is still so important to her. She has fought for it. It's so meaningful to her. As an artist, I'm happy for her. As a businesswoman, I'm happy for her. Like, boom, bing, bop, boom, bam, bam. She did it, you know, like, and genuinely, like, I'm proud of her and happy for her. That was part one of my twofold thought process. Part two, when I read what she wrote about Reputation, Taylor's version, was disappointment. It was disappointment, you know, kind of plain and simple. And not just disappointment, but I think it unlocked a thought that I have had before about Taylor, but maybe not quite so viscerally, which was, oh, okay, so this project was always about her and not about me, us, the fans. I've had that thought before where I've sort of like come to reconcile what I sort of thought was more a community project. And then realizing, okay, maybe this is less of a community project and more of a Taylor project. And let me explain what I mean by that. And again, I'm taking you through what I was feeling as I was reading that note and everything that day. What I felt was her re-records to me came to represent something that we all, and by we I mean Taylor Swift fans, we all were participating in, right? She went on the journey of re-recording her albums because the opportunity to purchase the masters was taken from her. And that was something that she wanted so badly and so deeply. And when it was taken from her, she said, okay, I'll re-record them so that I at least have a version of these songs that I worked over and dreamt over and cried over and sweat over. I at least have a version of these songs that I do own. It won't be the original version, so it will be different, but it will be something that I've put my work into and my heart into, and I'll own it. And that matters to me as an artist. And I can't control what the fans do, but to me it matters. And she asked the fans to go on that journey with her, and her fans went on that journey. And I came in at the ends, okay? I'm late. I recognize that. I'm late. I didn't start getting into Taylor's music until December 2023, which means by that point, she had already released all 4 of the re-records we've gotten. And so not only was I new to her music, I was also new to kind of like the importance of the re-recording journey. But I did hop on that train. And I did start to feel the real excitement around it. And I did go back as I was getting into her newer music, because the first song I fell in love with was Champagne Problems, and the first albums I fell in love with were Evermore and Folklore. But as I went down the rabbit hole and started listening to her older albums, I exclusively listened to the re-records, you know, obviously where available, out of respect for her artistry and for what she was asking from us as fans. What she was asking was that instead of listening to the originals, we listened to these new versions because she owned these, and that ownership meant something to her. And as a result of all of that, the re-records to me started to feel, again, like a community project, like not just a Taylor Swift project. They started to feel like a Taylor plus us project. And I again acknowledge I am late to being a part of the us. I'm acknowledging that. But it started to feel like a community project. So when I read in her letter, and in fact, let me pull it up so I'm like quoting her. Let me not paraphrase her, okay? Let me pull it up. Okay, so now that I have it in front of me in like a readable font size, let me read exactly what she says. I know. What about RepTV? Full transparency, I haven't even re-recorded a quarter of it. The Reputation album was so specific to that time in my life, and I kept hitting a stopping point when I tried to remake it. All that defiance, that longing to be understood while feeling purposely misunderstood, that desperate hope, that shame-born snarl and mischief. To be perfectly honest, it's the one album in those first 6 that I thought couldn't be improved upon by redoing it. Not the music or photos or videos. So I kept putting it off. There will be a time, if you're into the idea, for the unreleased vault tracks from that album to hatch. I've already completely re-recorded my entire debut album, and I really love how it sounds now. Those two albums can still have their moments to reemerge when the time is right, if that would be something you guys would be excited about. But if it happens, it won't be from a place of sadness and longing for what I wish I could have. It will just be a celebration now. Okay, so that's what she said. And in reading those words, just to be very honest about what I felt like, oh, okay, the re-record project is Taylor's project. It's not a community project. The fact that it gained importance to us in and of itself, beyond what it meant as it related to Scooter Braun and the masters being stolen, the re-records had become, I think, important in and of themselves to a lot of Taylor Swift fans. The fact that they had become important to us isn't that important to her, is what I felt, right, in reading that. What I felt in reading that was, okay, you've decided that for you, they couldn't be improved upon. And for you, the place you were in when re-recording it was a place you really couldn't return to or recreate. And as a result, this isn't something that you want to do anymore. And that is what matters the most. And I think for me, I just struggled a little bit with that, again, because I had sort of thought this was a we. And it became very clear as a result of reading the letter, oh, it's not a we, it's a she. That's okay. These are her songs that she wrote about her life. Like, it is a she. And maybe I was silly and dumb to ever think it was a we. But that was my realization in the moment in reading that letter. Okay. It's not a we. It's not a group project. It's not a community project. These are her songs, her masters, her lyrics, right? And so when I filmed that first video that I don't think will ever see the light of day on TikTok, that's sort of what I was focused on. Like, I thought it was a we. It's not. It's a she. I'm coming to terms with that. I share it here now because, again, I want to be transparent about just like the journey. And because, I don't know, maybe other people felt the same way. Maybe not. Okay. It could singularly be me. I literally haven't heard anyone else express this. So I'm feeling like I'm out on this island alone, and that's okay. But that's where I started. That's part one. So let's move to part two, which is like, what have I observed? And I will say, in taking the last 3 days to observe, I think what has really rung home for me is that I am a newer Swiftie, and there is a difference to coming into this community later. And I do understand that. I want to honor that. I want to respect that. Throughout this journey of joining this fandom, have very much recognized, like, there are just pieces and parts that I don't know, that I wasn't there for, that like I didn't experience, and certainly didn't experience like as viscerally as fans who had been a part of the community from before. But I think this moment drove it home for me even more because what I did observe was so many people feeling the we in this announcement, where for me, I almost felt othered, right? Like, you thought this was a group project. It wasn't. That's sort of how I read it. But when I'm looking at other Swifties and their reaction is like, oh no, this is a win for us. We did this. We're the ones who bought the Eras tickets. We're the ones who downloaded and streamed the Taylor's versions so many times that we put these hundreds of millions of dollars into Taylor's pocket so that she could purchase the masters. And this is a win for us. That has very much been the discourse that I've seen. Like, this is a win for us. We acknowledge that we were excited for the TVs, the Taylor's versions, because we couldn't get access to the originals. Those were in the vault. Now they're out of the vault. We did it. We unlocked the vault. This is a community project and we've done it, right? So that's what I was observing online. And I was like, oh, okay. This is, I think, part of what they're experiencing and how it differs from what I'm experiencing is that like I wasn't here from day one, or or wasn't here from when those albums were originally being recorded. So I don't have the sense memory of the first time I listened to Debut when it first came out, or listening to Reputation when it came out after she had been shunned and canceled and took a break from social, and we didn't hear from her for months on end, and then we like wake up and we get Reputation. I wasn't there for that. And so if you were there for that, the original Reputation is going to sit with you in a way that it's not going to sit with me. And I love Reputation, but like, I'm coming to Reputation necessarily differently than people who've been there from the beginning. And so I can understand how, for fans who have been here for a long time, from the beginning, from those early albums, this announcement does in fact read as a we and not just a she. I can see that, and I'm happy that I sat with it for a little bit to be able to kind of see it in that light and not just pop off with the first thing that came to my head. I'm happy I gave myself to kind of like ingest these reactions and things that I'm seeing from Taylor Swift fans who have been here for a longer period of time. So that brings me to part 3 of this video, which is, where does that leave me now, right? I shared my original thoughts. I shared my observations of what I've seen shared among the Taylor Swift fandom. Where does that leave me? And I wish I had a more satisfying answer. But the truth is, it leaves me somewhere in the middle, right? I have to be honest about the fact that, like, I am still a bit disappointed. Okay. I get to be that. And I am still a bit like, okay, like reconciling that Taylor's going to do what she wants to. What matters the most to her is what matters the most, period. And maybe I had thought a little bit differently. So I am still reconciling that. But I do also very deeply respect and make space for, and in a lot of ways understand that, like, for a lot of Taylor Swift fans, this moment is a real triumph. And I get that. I see that. I respect that. I honor that. And I think I'm just waiting to see if it starts to sink in that way for me as a later fan, right? Like, as someone who wasn't there in the early years, will I start to feel it as viscerally as a collective triumph as I think a lot of fans do? Right now, does it sit in that place for me? It doesn't. It kind of sits, it's almost academic. Like in an academic, intellectual sort of way, I see that. Does it feel that way for me viscerally? Not yet, but maybe it will. I think part of the reason for that is just like, again, because I wasn't here when those albums, by here I mean, like, you know, I was alive. I wasn't in a part of the fandom when those 6 albums were originally released. So none of them have, really with the exception of Reputation, none of them have made it into my like regular playlists, right? Like, I am for the most part listening to Folklore and Beyond with a little sprinkle of some Reputation tracks in terms of like what I'm regularly listening to. And so, you know, in some ways, this announcement almost has no effect on my day to day, right? Like, I listened to every album because I was very keen on like absorbing everything Taylor had written, because like I have a lot of respect for her as an artist. But in terms of like what has permeated my day to day, like listening playlists, most of the earlier albums have not. It really is Folklore and Beyond for me in terms of like what I'm listening to on a regular basis. So in some ways, again, this announcement has not changed anything for me. But in some ways it's changed a lot, because it's just changed like my understanding of a piece of my fandom that I thought existed in one space and am realizing exists in another space. And I'm just reconciling that, you know, as a fan. I will say, because I'm sure there will be people who will be hypercritical of this take, despite the like pains I'm going to try to make it very clear how not critical I'm being. Like, I will say there aren't a lot of artists for me who inspire this level of like introspection and just like intellectual deep dive. There really aren't. It's basically Taylor, Beyonce, and Sarah Bareilles. Oh, and Whitney Houston, right? Like, it's a very, very, very short list of artists who I'm willing to just really, really think like, why does this feel this way for me? What am I feeling now? Not just about this song, but about this performance and about this note and about like, so few artists inspire this level of like thought provocation. And so when it happens, I do feel the need to go all the way down the rabbit hole. And either you want to go down the rabbit hole with me or you don't. And if you don't, that's okay. But I hope you can like take it in the spirit I'm giving it, which is just like, I had a whole lot of thoughts. I took my time to process them. I didn't dump them on the internet immediately. I waited. I observed. I listened and don't judge. I did the things that I would think you'd want a content creator to do, which is attempt to come to you with my fully formed thoughts. At least I tried, you know? At least I tried. Anywho, you're probably tired of all this rambling. You want to get back to your 500 millionth stream of reputation, and I don't blame you. I'm going to let you get back to it. If you enjoyed any part of this, I hope you will subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments, and as always, I'll see you next time.